Resource Watch is brought to you in association with Tebe Investment Corporation.
And welcome. We are talking to a profit-making junior ferrochrome miner today. I'm Nozi Pombanjwa, and this is Resource Watch. Let's kick off with the market wrap for this week.
Low iron ore prices have resulted in global mining and trading company Glencore Xstrata saying that it is slowing its iron projects, taking large impairments against them and informally putting them up for sale. Iron ore prices slumped to below $60 a tonne from an average $135 a tonne in 2013 and $97 last year. The price of gold is under pressure from a stronger dollar and looks headed for the longest slump in 6 years. Platinum also fell to a 67-month low as the dollar's rally cut demand for precious metals as alternative assets. Spot gold touched a 14-week low. The metals prices have been taking a toll on mining stocks on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange this week. And South African gold miner Harmony Gold says a discovery at its Kili Teke exploration project in Papua New Guinea had potential to become a copper gold mine to match its Gopu prospect there. The latter holds 20 million ounces of gold and 9 million tons of copper.
Now, the rise in demand and production of ferrochrome, which is used to make steel, has seen MERAFE Resources, a junior partner in a South African chrome venture with Glencore, recently post improved annual results. Earlier, I sat down with MERAFE CEO Zanele Matlala. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. A quick snapshot of the numbers. We're seeing that revenue is increased by 3%. There's been an increase in production of 5%. But maybe give us some insight into the current state of the business, and more importantly, give us the pulse of the health of the business.
Well, we've just released the results. As you'd have seen, we made profit of 214 million rand, which is quite a healthy profit. Given just the state of the industry. I think one of the advantages that we have as a venture is that we're the lowest cost producer in South Africa, the second lowest in the world, and that gives us the advantage above our competitors.
Let's talk about that broader environment a little bit more. Commodity prices falling across the board. How does this now change your game plan moving into the next financial year? What's the strategy to weather the storm?
Ferrochrome prices have not been different to the rest of the commodities in that they've also been coming down. But the difference is that ferrochrome is priced differently. It's on a negotiated benchmark price, which is slightly different from something that is priced on, on the different exchanges. So you have room to negotiate a price for a quarter. The exchange rate, the weakening of the rand against the dollar, to some extent has helped us to weather the storm. But generally, when we look at our costs of production and where the prices are, we still make some profit, which is a lot better than some of our competitors.
I'll come back to the cost of production, but just a little bit more around that negotiated price. Do you see yourself having more room to maneuver in the next 6 to 12 months so that you can grow those prices and increase revenue?
I think it's difficult to speculate what the prices would be because that's driven by a number of factors, one of them being the exchange rate. The weaker the exchange rate generally is that the prices then are lower. So you can't sort of call the exchange rate. It depends on the supply, and supply is influenced by issues like electricity supply. It depends on the demand. So there's a lot of factors. But where we are in terms of prices, we're still in a position to make some profit.
I want to talk about the cost of production and electricity in a bit, but let's maybe just go back to the demand side. Your exports into China have come down quite dramatically by 22%, but this is in line with other markets that were exporting into China. Talk us through the dynamics there and how that's playing itself out in your numbers.
The exports that have reduced into China are really the chrome ore exports. And chrome ore is not a big part of our numbers in that it makes up only 9% of our total revenue. But it's a positive thing from a South African point of view to have less exports going to China, because it means we can produce more in South Africa, more ferrochrome, that is.
Is there beneficiation happening? Because my understanding is that we're still exporting raw to China. Does this open up an opportunity to revisit the beneficiation conversation?
It does, although we do beneficiate from chrome ore to ferrochrome. So there's already some beneficiation that happens. And then the next level would be to beneficiate into stainless steel. But given electricity constraints, and I mean that's more a South African issue rather than a company issue, it's not likely that we'll be going into that space.
A South African issue, no doubt, and with the tariffs coming in, I think the date is 1st of April, we're expecting the cost of power in South Africa to also increase. What does this mean for your cost of production and the overall output that you're able to deliver?
We have the advantage of being very energy efficient. Therefore, whatever increase that happens will be more painful for our competitors than it is for us. We currently, electricity makes up about 23% of our total cost of production, and therefore there will be an increase, but it will be not as painful, I would say, yeah.
That's a surprising one, given that many companies aren't in the fortunate position to give the answer that you've given now. But let's also talk about the strategic change in direction that has been spoken about prior even to these numbers, and the two focal areas there being the desire to reduce debt and to pay dividends. How have you performed on those two metrics?
As you'd have seen with the results, we've actually declared a dividend of 20 million rand. Which is in addition to the interim dividend that we had declared of 28. So for the year, we've declared 48 million rand. And that, I think, shows our intention of committing to being a stable dividend payer. And on the debt side, we will start making some reduction, but our debt is over a 5-year period. So you're not going to see that reduction in a year.
Can you give us your debt reduction targets that we could track?
Currently, we have a debt facility of 800 million rand, and 500 million of that is payable over 5 years. So if you just apply that, then you'd say we'd probably remain with 300 to 400 in 4 to 5 years. But that doesn't mean we can't refinance it when we get to that point, depending on what our requirements are.
Let's go back to the broader relationship, and in particular the joint venture with Glencore. Is it working? What are the key tensions maybe that as a minority partner in this relationship that you've had to grapple with in this last financial year? And where do you see this relationship going from here on?
The relationship is working. Remember that the history is that MERAFE contributed assets that they had into the venture. So both parties contributed into the venture. And if you just look at the history and look at our performance when we were a standalone operation, and now that we're participating in the venture, our results have been a lot better. We've actually made profits for all the years that we've had the venture, except for 1 year, 2009, which was a bad year for most companies. I think we are in a very good space, because what it gives us, being in this partnership with Glencore, is the diversification in terms of geographically, in that we have operations in the west and the east. We have 22 furnaces. So it gives us that flexibility that when one thing is not operating, the other is operating. So I think it's a very good partnership to be in.
The critics have always been ready to point out that this, in essence, means you don't have your own destiny in your own hands. How have you responded to some of those comments?
I mean, we've had those comments, but the way we see it is that it is better to have a smaller percentage of a large operation than have 100% of a small operation, for the reasons that I gave you. That, for instance, when we've had the strikes in the west, our eastern operations were operating. Whereas if we had had the one operation, we probably would have been in a much worse position. So the venture gives us a lot of flexibility, it gives us diversity, plus Glencore does all the marketing, and I mean they have quite a reach, and that's an advantage for the venture.
Final question, back here in a year, talking through 12 months of results, how do you think this conversation is likely to go?
I can only base it on what is being projected. I mean, stainless steel is projected to grow by 5%. To me, that can only mean there will be demand for ferrochrome. We're in a good space in terms of the cost curve. So I can only see us taking advantage of that, and I'm hoping that it will be a good conversation.
Zanele, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And now here's a look at our gem of the week.
Since ancient times, gold has been used to depict status in society. The metal has a variety of uses, from adornment to conducting electricity. And because it's edible, its decadence also extends to a variety of uses in food and drink. In some parts of Asia, they put gold in fruit, coffee, and tea. And since the 1500s, Europeans have been putting gold leaf in bottles of liquor, such as Deinziger Goldwasser and Goldschlager. Now, through the combination of science and opulence, you can even have an anti-aging gold facial. A jewel mask with collagen and pure 24-karat gold and sparkling diamond dust, to be precise. This one-of-a-kind product is also filled with vitamins A and C and grapeseed oil.
The golden diamond dust works on illuminating the face. So it basically reflects light off your skin, giving you that ultimate radiance, that illumination, like you're shining bright like a diamond. And for people who really want something very advanced when it comes to skincare, you will opt for the gold mask. The range has quite developed into something very luxurious, very sought after. I mean, if you think of gold, it's associated with the best of the best. So that's basically why they decided to put gold into the mask. And as we were working with the products, we obviously had to design a treatment to complement this ultra luxurious advanced anti-aging range.
Whether you're trying to turn back time or simply invigorate your tired skin, Theravine's Gold Collagen Film will leave you glowing.
And that's it for this week's show. Do stay in touch. That's by following me on Twitter @TheRealNausea, and of course using our hashtag ResourceWatch. Until next time.